Hi, my name is Lane McKittrick, and I just wanted to take a little bit of time today to talk about why I started Lane of Inquiry, Deafblind Education Research and Family Support. 2020 was a year like no other. I'm sure you can all relate. There was so much uncertainty, so much that has been so difficult. I can't even describe it. The whole year just felt like a blur. But sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom in order to rise above the difficulties and to trust your instincts and find your true passion. My instincts, knowledge, and past experiences led me to start a new nonprofit called Lane of Inquiry in October 2020. I know it may seem like a strange time to be starting a new endeavor, but I suppose there's no perfect time. For me, though, this was the right time. So many families of children who are deafblind, including myself, really struggled this year. These were not new challenges, but these were challenges that felt even more urgent than ever before. Accessibility, getting the right support, collaborating with IEP teams, ensuring that IEP teams understood what it meant for children who are deafblind. More than ever before, we need to be working together to ensure our children have the support they need, regardless of whether we're in person or virtual and what that looks like. In 2004, my husband Todd and I started Here See Hope to raise money for a cure for Usher syndrome, which is the genetic cause of our children's deafblindness. The idea for Here See Hope came shortly after we had returned from the eye doctor, where we were told our son, Connor, who is now 21, that in addition to his hearing loss, would someday go blind. He was 5 at the time. Although the grief has subsided over the years, it never really goes away. When I close my eyes, I can still take myself back to that pain, that feeling of isolation, to that day in particular. In 2004, the Usher Syndrome Coalition did not exist yet, and it was very difficult to find other families and individuals who are affected with Usher syndrome. In those early days after the diagnosis, Todd and I banded together with family and friends and poured our hearts into finding a cure, and we were very proud of what we accomplished. Since 2004, we've raised over $2 million for a cure. We are closer than ever before to that cure, thankfully, but there still is no cure. Along the way, since 2004, you may notice that there were years when we did less fundraising for Here See Hope. These last couple years are an example. Those were years when we were focused on our family, often when we were dealing with the day-to-day struggles of Usher syndrome. When Connor was diagnosed with Usher syndrome at age 5, I thought that all that mattered was a cure. If we found a cure in 10 years, maybe that cure would come before he started to lose his eyesight. Unfortunately, that 10 years came and went, and there's still no cure. Instead, we watched as he started to struggle in school. We watched as he started to lose his eyesight. These school struggles came around the same time that our youngest son, Dalton, was born with Usher syndrome. This honestly was a really dark time for me. We had a newborn who would someday be blind, and Connor wasn't doing well in school. It was just honestly a lot for our family to juggle. And it was hard on our other 2 children, Cole and Hunter, as well. Don't get me started on the impacts on siblings. Like most parents can relate, I focused my time in researching deafblindness, going on the internet and trying to figure out how to best help my son, who was in elementary school at the time. My background was in real estate and finance, and I was way out of my comfort zone. But each phone call and email I would get from the school, and trust me, there was a lot, would fuel my fire to figure this out, to help him. An example of what I was experiencing. One day I received an email from Connor's 6th grade teacher that just literally pushed me to my limit. This wasn't the first of these emails I'd been receiving. I would actually get several a week that essentially asked me what was I going to do about a certain situation. They were putting the burden back on Todd and I. This one day, this email essentially said, "Your son has been cheating in math. I regraded his self-graded exam, and he marked some answers correct that were in fact wrong. For those who know Connor, know that he is extremely honest. And so when I got this email, I thought something's not right. I left work, my head spinning from confusion, anger, and so many emotions. I was angry about the tone of this email and the fact that there was no one on an IEP team that I felt I could ask for help. I got home and Todd and I talked with Connor. When we set out, Connor burst into tears, which again, not like him. He had been trying to be so strong for Todd and I, but he told us, Mom, Dad, I didn't cheat. The teacher's voice is so soft that I can't hear the answers that he calls out. All year, I've advocated for him to please speak louder into the FM system. In the past, I would ask him to repeat himself, and if he didn't, he would get upset with me. So ultimately, I stopped asking. I thought, well, I'm great at math. I'm sure I got these right. So instead of asking the teacher and having him get upset with me yet again, I'll just mark the answers correct. It's easier on everyone. My heart broke when I heard this. I felt I'd failed him. I didn't know how to help him. I hadn't fought for the right people to be on his IEP team. I'd assumed that the IEP team and teachers knew best, since they are the professionals. I'd assumed that they knew everything about deafblindness. I was wrong, and I needed to do something, so I followed my gut. We transferred him to a new school with only 8 weeks left in his last year of elementary school. And let me tell you, this was a hard decision to make, but I now only regret not doing it sooner. We put all our energy into putting together a plan so that he could be successful and finish out elementary school strong, and we did. It is this exact school experience that led me to go back to school to get my PhD in special education. I was initially set on finding a cure when I first found out about the diagnosis. But while we waited for a cure, there were real struggles that our family was dealing with. I was grieving because I had no one to help, and I had no idea how to help my son. But I knew that it was breaking my heart to watch my son just get A's because no one wanted to take the time to help him and to understand. I felt they were just passing him along so that he would be someone else's problem. I knew that needed to change. I am so thankful for my doctoral advisors who believed in me, who gave me a chance. I didn't have a bachelor's or master's degree in special education, just my experience as a parent. I entered my first course, and as I introduced myself, I said, and this shows you how bad I was feeling at the time. I said, my name is Lane, and I don't have any experience in special education. I'm just a parent. And I said this because this is how I felt. I felt defeated and alone. My professor stopped me right then and told me, you're a parent. You should not minimize your experience in special education. You are the most knowledgeable about your child, and you probably know more about special education than most of us. She was right. I was completely approaching this all wrong. My first course was in IEP law, and I couldn't believe what I was learning. There were so many things on Connor's IEP that were out of compliance over the years. No follow-through on IEP goals, the right people weren't on his team, and honestly, that was why he was regressing. As he turned that transition age, there were no transition goals on his IEP that were required by IDEA. His IEP simply in the transition section said, transition goals to be determined later. I stepped back and thought, gosh, how did this happen? It was because our team was working in silos, because no one was familiar with deafblindness, and because I didn't feel like part of the IEP team. I felt like an outsider. It was this self-reflection that led me to be interested in collaboration in IEP teams. I wondered, how can we work together to ensure the best possible outcomes for our children? How can we manage conflict as it occurs or prevent it from occurring? And how can we ensure that parents' voices are heard in IEP teams so that we really can share the knowledge that we all have about deafblindness and about the unique needs of our children? And so that's what my research is focused on. When I feel discouraged, I just remember those early years when I spent hours on the internet searching for answers, and those countless nights worrying. I still have those countless sleepless nights, but thankfully they are more and more rare. Fast forward to today, I certainly don't have all the answers, but I have been through this and I have the knowledge and skills to help ensure others don't feel alone like I did. That's why I started Lane of Inquiry. I wanted to be more intentional about supporting families and educators of children who are deafblind. I wanted to continue to contribute to educational research specific to deafblindness. I really want my research to be usable for families and educators who are supporting our children. Why deafblindness and not Usher syndrome? Well, what I've learned over the last several years is that Usher syndrome is rare, but so is deafblindness, which is why most IEP teams don't have anyone familiar with deafblindness on the IEP team or even in their school or district. Each child who's deafblind, regardless of the reason for their deafblindness, has unique needs. Every parent, regardless of the diagnosis, struggles in similar ways to work with the IEP teams to ensure the team understands those unique needs, understands that a one-size-fits-all approach won't work, understands deafblindness. That just because they might have had another child who's deafblind on their education caseload doesn't mean that an IEP team might know. Just doesn't mean that what worked for one child will work for another. I've found that collaboration really is the key. It takes really good communication, advocacy, respect, and trust, among so many other things. It's those relationships. Our son Connor is now a senior in college. He's graduating this year from Rochester Institute of Technology and Political Science with a minor in philosophy. And Todd and I are so proud. Our youngest, Dalton, is a 7th grader in a mainstream setting, and he's doing well. He has the accommodations and support he needs to be successful. But tomorrow, we will likely need to adjust these accommodations and supports yet again, because that's how deafblindness is. But we're doing things differently this time around with Dalton's IEP team. Dalton is more involved, and so am I. When I don't know the answer to an educational challenge, I turn to my network of other parents and educators who may have experienced something similar, and we keep on trying until we get things right. Doing this alone is hard, and I don't wish that for anyone, so that's why I really started Lane of Inquiry. Even if I help just one family, it will be worth it. The field of deafblindness did some amazing things in 2020. Certainly, yes, there were challenges, but I really saw our field coming together, problem solving, innovating, and this gives me hope. And this is why I felt like it's the right time to launch Lane of Inquiry. I can't do this alone, though. I need support from families and educators. I need you to help me get the word out. I need help with research studies. I also need financial support. The more financial support I have, the more research and family support that I can provide, and the quicker that I can make an impact. So thank you to all of those who supported Todd and I along our journey, our long journey. As we launched Here See Hope, we needed all of you, and we continue to value your support today. Here See Hope will continue to raise money for a cure for Usher syndrome, something that I hope we see in the next several years. And while we wait, Lane of Inquiry will help families ensure deafblind children have the educational support that they need. I can't emphasize this enough. Please reach out to offer your words of support, or if you have the time or resources, offer to help in any way. Because I can't do this alone. I know this is my path, because through the pain of those past experiences comes good, and I'm excited to be able to help more families like mine and the educators who support them. I thank you so much for your trust in me, and thank you so much for just getting the word out and helping me network and help more families.